Hi everybody, it's your girl Tanya. Thank you for tuning in to another chapter of Books and Brown Liquor. This video is my book wrap up for 2022. This is a combination of the books I read in November and December. Those last 2 months of the year were hectic for me, so we're just gonna do it all in one video. So this is my book wrap up for November and December / 2022. Happy New Year, y'all. Can you believe it's 2023? Oh my God. I don't even know what book to read first for the year. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, book wrap up. 6 books, I believe. Book number 1. I have to write everything down because I don't remember shit. All right, so the first book was Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. I hope I said that right. Book number 1, Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. This book is written it's a series of short stories, and it's written in a style where the author is recounting events that took place throughout his childhood, starting from like the age of 5 or 6 up until I want to say like 12 or 13. But all of these events that take place in these short stories they're creepy because of how realistic they are. And I said before in my book review that some of the themes that are discussed in this book are not feeling safe in your own home, the feeling that you are being watched, the feeling that this thing or person or whatever knows where you are all the time. That's the theme throughout the book, throughout the stories. And to me, that's creepy. That's very creepy to me because to me, that's realistic. Whenever you hear stories about people being murdered or people being killed, it usually starts with someone following them or stalking them or catching the eyes of the wrong person at the wrong time. So when you're a kid, you're already scared of like noises or the dark or whatever like that. But when you're a kid and your suspicions or those things that you fear, there's a possibility that they're actually true, that's scary. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell too much on that. The next book was, and the sun is setting, so it's getting dark. So my lighting is like changing. But anyway, the next book is Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough. I've said before, I love Sarah Pinborough's writing. My favorite book was Behind Her Eyes. And then they made a Netflix special and I was like, ah! I love that book. That was probably my favorite book of that year, okay? And I said before, I like Sarah Pinborough because she tackles topics that I think it's very brave to talk about astral projection because a lot of people don't believe in those kind of things. I mean, let's be real. I remember reading the book reviews and people were like, oh my God, the book was good until well, you know, if it never happened to you, of course you don't believe it. Just like people that have never seen a ghost don't believe in ghosts. But people that have seen ghosts know that it's real. So just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean it isn't a thing. Anyway. So in this book, Insomnia, she tackles another topic that might be hard for some people to grasp. I'm not going to say it because this book is worth the read. Now, I'm not going to lie. At first, the main character, I really did think she was losing her shit. Basically, our main character, she has it all. The life, the husband, the family, the house, the career, she has it all. But when she was a kid, her mom was a great mom until she turned 40. When she turned 40, her behavior changed drastically. She started behaving in a very psychopathic manner. And when her mom was 40, she basically did some shit that landed her in the loony bin. And I'm not going to go into detail. So as her 40th birthday approaches, she's afraid that she's going to lose her mind, just like her mother did. And things start to unravel in her life. And like I said, when you're first reading the book, you're thinking, is this bitch tripping? Is she wilding? It kind of reminds me of The Woman in the Window. The woman in the window, she witnesses a murder across the street, but because she's so heavily medicated and like drinks multiple bottles of wine a day, you start asking yourself, did she really see this shit, or is this bitch just drunk? Right? And then in the end, you're like, oh, okay. This book kind of reminds me of that. All this stuff is going on. She's starting to come unraveled. Everyone in her life is like, maybe you need a break. Maybe, you know how women are dismissed every time they experience something out of the ordinary. People dismiss them as being crazy. So as the reader, you're kind of like, you kind of have that, you kind of toe the line where you want to believe her, but then as things go on, you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe she did do that. I don't know. Anyway, at the end of the book, when everything is revealed and you understand everything that's going on, it is worth it. It is good. Just hang in there. Just if you hang in there, it'll all make sense in the end. It's basically like all the puzzle pieces are given to you. And then in the end, when you get that final puzzle piece, ta-da, Taj Mahal. There you go. I recommend it. I enjoyed it very much. The next book, oh my God. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. This is a young adult fantasy novel. It has all the things I love, and despite it having all the things I loved, I did not like this book. It has fantasy, it has magic, it has sword fighting, it has monsters, it has immortal people, and I love when women can fight. So our main character, her name is Poppy, she's a maiden, and her like head of security or whatever, he always wanted to make sure she could protect herself, so he taught her how to use a sword. So she's annoying as fuck, but she can fight. But what did it for me is it focused so much on the main character's inner dialogue that everything else that was going on in the book didn't really hit the same, because we just kept staying in the inner dialogue of this main character who I found annoying. I think that maybe if I liked the main character, maybe I would have connected to the story better. But because the main character got on my absolute nerves, I just really, I wasn't invested like I should have been. But because the book was 500 pages, I was like, you know what? Maybe it'll get better. Yeah. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it's just warming up. It's just warming up. And then when we get to like the second half of the book, the shit's gonna go down. Well, the shit went down and I still wasn't enjoying the book. So this is the first book in a 3-part series. I cannot promise you I'll be back for book 2 and 3 because I could barely make it through book 1 because the main character was annoying. Okay. So that's all I can tell you. It got on my nerves. I did my best. I tried. I wanted to like the book as much as I wanted to like it. I did not. And that's the honest truth. And that's all I can do. I just can't. I tried. I fucking tried. The next book is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. Okay. This is another book that I really wanted to like. And I found that with Lucy Foley, her books are kind of, to me, they're all the same. They all follow a group of friends or a group of people in an isolated location. One person dies, i.e. the Agatha Christie recipe. And basically the moral of the story is we need to figure out who did it and why. And in the guest list, who did it and why made sense. Because the fucking person that got killed was an absolute douchebag. I wanted to kill that motherfucker by the time I was invested in that book. But in this book, same thing. People, isolated location, someone dies, and we need to figure out who done it and why. The who done it and why was a reach for me. It was a reach for me. The people in this story were not really likable characters. They were like basically, their bickering was very petty to me. It wasn't like a really deep mystery. It was just a bunch of people with money who were fucking annoying, and one of them ended up dead one day. And then we had to figure out, oh, what other rich person did this? And when you figure out who did it and why, you're just like, really? Like, that's it? That's your reason? If you don't get a life. Anyway, I wanted to like it, but I did not. But because I'm curious and I wanted to know who did it and why, and I read all the way to the end and I was like a little disappointed, but it's okay. It's okay. Will I be reading more of Lucy Foley? Probably not. But that's my opinion. For those of you that love her, rock on. Rock on, okay? The next book I did love. The Reddening. The Reddening by Adam Neville. Adam Neville wrote The Ritual, one of my favorite horror books, okay? There's nothing scarier than a group of friends being lost in the woods in another country that they've never been to, and they're being picked off one by something they cannot see. I can't think of anything scarier until I read this, and I was like, oh, okay, Adam, okay. So, in a small seaside town in the UK, there's a man who discovers the opening to an ancient cave. And, the news reporters come out, and then the archaeologists come out, and they start digging in this old cave. And they uncover the remains of over 267 to be exact. 267 bodies. And after studying, they discovered that these people have been eaten, okay? Men, women, and children, eaten by an ancient group of carnivores. The question is, how do we know these group of carnivores don't still exist? The people that were found in this cave were found, like, these remains go back hundreds of years. But then some of these remains, they're a little more recent. Yeah, like really recent. So how do we know this group of carnivores is gone? Oh, we don't know. Because guess what? Guess what? There's a couple of people who start digging around and sniffing around like nosy people do in scary movies, and they're never to be seen again. So, all I'm gonna say is yes, they're still around. And when you go digging where you don't belong, you may end up on the menu. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. The book was good. It was creepy. And everybody at the end don't make it home for Christmas. Spoiler alert, everybody don't make it home for Christmas. Okay, but it was good. It was good. And it makes you think, how do we know there aren't people out there that eat people? Do we really know that? Moving on. Have I scared you yet? And then the last book, which was probably my favorite out of all of these, is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. She wrote Mexican Gothic, which I have not read. But this book, I described it in my last video as a beautifully written Gothic haunting. I say beautifully written because when you first read the book, it starts out like a historical novel. It takes place in the 1850s in Mexico during the Mexican Revolution. And basically our main character, her name is Beatriz, or Beatriz in Mexican. And she is, her father is a general. He's killed in the war. And she basically loses her father and her home. So her and her mother are forced to live with relatives who don't really want them there. And this is back during a time where women don't really have a lot of choices. If you don't get married, you basically got to live with your parents and take care of them until they die. Ugh. So she meets this man who, he has money, he's a political figure, he owns his own home. So he's my ticket out of this bullshit poverty. And fuck this mean ass relatives because they don't want me here anyway. So she marries this man because he can improve her station in life. Yay, problem solved, until she goes to his house and she realizes that something isn't right at the hacienda. Okay? Something isn't right at the hacienda, and none of the servants will go inside because they're fucking scared. And even his own sister won't go in the house. And oh, by the way, don't go in the north wing because, like, we got some weather damage. Just don't go over there. Of course she goes over there. Like, of course she goes over there, and she finds more than what she bargained for. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. This book is good. It's beautifully written, but it's still scary. And it has great storytelling, very atmospheric, very creepy. There's magic, there's murder, all the things I like. So this book is a 4.5 for me. Out of all the books for November and December, I will say this is probably my favorite one. Yeah, so that completes my book wrap up for November, December 2022. So thank you for reading. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. And again, Happy New Year. And if you have any book recommendations, please share. I look forward to reading. I look forward to reading more great books in 2023. If you have recommendations, please share. I'm here for it. But as always, thank you for watching. I wish you good reading. Bye.